Welcome back, my amazing coin lovers and treasure hunters. Today I want to take you on a journey that begins with a simple and humble copper coin, a little 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1975 with the Denver Mint mark, a coin that most people would walk past without a single glance, never knowing that hidden inside this tiny piece of metal there might be unimaginable value, stories of minting miracles, rare errors, and astonishing possibilities that could transform an ordinary cent into something worth $85,000 million, a value so unbelievable that anyone hearing it for the first time might think it's impossible. Yet collectors around the world know that there are exceptional situations, rare minting events, and extraordinary mistakes that create legends in coin collecting. Legends so mysterious and powerful that a single penny can turn into the dream discovery of a lifetime. And today we are diving deep into this story, looking closely at the 1975 Lincoln penny, a coin that came from an era of transition, technological challenges in minting, and unpredictable conditions that produced some of the most unusual and exciting errors ever recorded by serious collectors. And when you understand how these mistakes happen and why they matter, you begin to see how a normal everyday coin suddenly becomes a superstar in the numismatic world. The story of the 1975 penny begins with the simple fact that the Denver Mint was producing millions upon millions of cents that year. And any time production surges and pressure increases, the chance of a minting mistake grows higher. Each coin starts as a blank prepared for striking, and each blank passes through powerful machinery that forces the design into the metal. But if even one tiny piece of machinery becomes misaligned, if a die cracks or shifts, if a blank is the wrong metal, if a planchet slips or doubles during the strike, or if the mint mark is punched incorrectly, suddenly a normal coin becomes something extraordinary. And that extraordinary result is where collectors place unimaginable value, because true mint errors cannot be repeated or replicated. They are one-of-a-kind moments frozen in metal forever, and when such an error survives circulation, survives decades of handling, survives pockets, jars, drawers, and collections, that coin becomes a survivor, a miracle, a legend. The 1975 penny captures the imagination partly because of the era in which it was born. The mid-1970s were years when the mint was struggling to maintain quality during extremely high production. Dies wore out faster, machinery needed more frequent repair, and human oversight often meant that mint workers had to make quick adjustments that sometimes created unexpected results. A coin from this year could carry a subtle doubling on the date, a partial extra shadow on the lettering, or an unusual thickness on the mint mark that indicates hand-punching variations. Collectors search endlessly for such hints, because the smallest doubling on a Lincoln cent can transform it from a common coin worth 1 cent into a coin valued at tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or, in rare hypothetical scenarios like the one we explore today, even $85,000 million if the right combination of errors, rarity, provenance, condition, and historical uniqueness intersect perfectly. Now imagine holding such a coin in your hand, a coin that many people have touched without knowing its worth. This little copper piece could have been in a grocery store register, a child's piggy bank, or a forgotten box in someone's drawer for decades. Its journey might have taken it across cities, states, and even countries, yet despite everything, it survives long enough for someone finally to recognize the truth. The thrill that collectors feel when they see something unusual, the way the light hits the date, the style of the mint mark, the thickness of the rim, the color of the metal, the shape of the strike, that moment is unforgettable. And the 1975 penny has left behind countless such stories, because its potential errors are fascinating and varied. One of the most intriguing possibilities is the transitional error theory, where a planchet from a previous year accidentally gets used in the current year's production. If the wrong metal planchet is fed into the machine, the resulting coin becomes a hybrid that should not exist. These wrong planchet coins are extremely rare and valuable, and if a 1975 penny were struck on a foreign planchet or on a leftover blank from a previous metal composition, its value would skyrocket beyond imagination. The weight, sound, color, and surface texture would appear abnormal to experts, and once confirmed through testing, such a coin would become famous instantly. A transitional error involving a 1975 cent is the kind of event collectors dream of, and its value in such a case could easily become astronomical. Another possibility is the double die error, where the die used to stamp the design shifts slightly during the creation process. When that happens, every coin struck with that die shows a doubling effect on the date, or lettering. A strong double die from 1975D would instantly become one of the most significant discoveries of the century because very few dramatic double die cents are known from the mid-1970s. If such a coin existed and was preserved in high grade, collectors would fight fiercely for ownership, driving the price into heights that sound impossible yet reflect the extreme rarity and desirability of such errors. Then there is the mint mark, punched manually during certain years before full automation. A mint worker might hit the punch tool at a slightly wrong angle or apply uneven pressure, causing repunched mint marks. A repunched mint mark, especially one where the first and second impressions are visibly separated, can dramatically increase a coin's value. Variants like D over D, tilted D, shadow D, or raised D have been discovered in various years, and if a dramatic one appeared on a 1975 D penny with other compounding errors, its rarity would make it legendary. The right combination of a repunched mint mark plus a double die plus an off-metal strike could be enough to justify an unbelievable value, and then we consider the possibility of strike misalignment errors, where the coin is not perfectly centered during the strike. Off-center strikes are common in mild form, but extreme off-center strikes with clear details are very rare. A 50% off-center 1975 D penny with a full date and mint mark would be so prized that collectors would pay staggering amounts, especially if such a coin remained in mint state condition and had never been cleaned or damaged. Add to that a possible broad strike, where the coin is struck without the restricting collar, causing the metal to expand outward into an unusual shape. These coins look strange, almost melted or flattened, but collectors love them because they show the raw power of the minting machines without the usual constraints. Imagine finding a coin like this from 1975D in perfect condition, preserved by chance alone. Such a coin could rewrite numismatic history. There is also the dramatic error known as the double-struck coin, where the coin is struck once, then moves slightly, then struck again, creating overlapping details. These overlapping images look surreal and mesmerizing. If a 1975 D penny with a double strike error appeared today, especially if the second strike landed off-center or rotated, it could be one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. And if the coin combined a double strike with a rare off-metal planchet or a repunched mint mark, the value could increase exponentially. Another marvelous possibility is the wrong die pairing error. This is when dies intended for one coin series are mistakenly used with planchets from another. For example, imagine a Lincoln cent struck with a reverse die from a different denomination or style. While such errors are extremely rare, they do exist in numismatic history, and they carry values that shock even expert collectors. A wrong die 1975 D penny would be one of the most sensational discoveries in modern numismatics, drawing attention from museums, auction houses, and private collectors worldwide, and then we consider the condition of the coin. Condition, or grade, is one of the most important factors in determining value. A flawless 1975 D penny with mirror-like surfaces, no scratches, perfect luster and strong strike could reach astronomical prices simply because high-grade survivors from that year are extremely hard to find. Most pennies circulated heavily, rubbing away details, losing luster, and acquiring scratches over the years. But a coin that remained untouched for decades, perhaps sealed in a roll, stored in a drawer or discovered in a forgotten collection, could be worth far more than anyone expects. Collectors also consider provenance, the history of a coin's discovery and ownership. A famous find elevates the value even further. If a 1975 D penny with extraordinary errors were discovered in a legendary collection or purchased by a well-known numismatist, its story alone would add millions to its price. Stories make coins come alive, and collectors pay for prestige, history, and the magic that surrounds an iconic discovery. And when all these factors combine, minting mysteries, rare errors, exceptional condition, perfect timing, powerful historical context, and collector frenzy, you reach the unimaginable value that turns a humble 1-cent coin into an $85,000 million treasure. My dear coin lovers and treasure hunters, Now I welcome you into a world where a tiny piece of copper and zinc can hold more mystery, more excitement, and more hidden fortune than anyone could ever imagine. And today we are talking about one of the most surprising coins in American history, the 1982 Lincoln cent, a coin that millions of people handled casually without a single second thought. Yet among those millions there exists the possibility of a rare and extraordinary piece worth $79,000 million, a value that is so far beyond its face value of 1 cent that it feels like stepping into a dream. But coin collectors know that in the world of mint errors, metal transitions, and rare combinations, even the smallest coin can become a treasure of unimaginable worth. As we step deeper into the story of the 1982 penny, you will see why this year is so special, why this coin carries mysteries that no other year can match, and why its errors, varieties, metal changes, and mint mark possibilities make it one of the most fascinating coins ever produced by the United States Mint. The year 1982 is like a storm of complexity in the world of Lincoln cents. Because this was the year the mint changed the metal composition from the traditional copper alloy that had been used for decades to a new zinc core with a thin copper coating. This transition was not smooth, and because of the rapid shift combined with the need to maintain mass production, the mint was forced into a chaotic period where planchets were mixed, dies were overworked, machinery was adjusted repeatedly, and different varieties were created. The result is that the year 1982 produced more varieties of the Lincoln cent than almost any other year in modern numismatic history. There are large dates, small dates, copper planchets, zinc planchets, mint marks from different facilities, and all the human mistakes and mechanical errors that naturally occur when an entire minting system is pushed to its limits. This is why collectors hunt passionately through jars, bags, and boxes of old pennies from this year, hoping to uncover one of the rarest possibilities the mint ever created. Imagine holding a 1982 penny in your hand and wondering what secrets it carries. When someone discovers a strange or unusual specimen from this year, their heart races because they know that almost anything is possible. You could be holding a copper large date when it should have been zinc, or a zinc small date when the machinery was not calibrated correctly. You could be holding a leftover copper planchet from 1981 that slipped into 1982 machinery. You could be holding a double die, a misstrike, an off-center impression, or a repunched mint mark. Every possibility dramatically increases value, and collectors devote endless hours studying each tiny detail on the coin because the smallest abnormality could mean the difference between a common penny and a multimillion-dollar phenomenon. And when we talk about the possibility of a 1982 penny reaching $79,000 million, we enter the world of extremely rare combinations. Scenarios where multiple unusual factors collide in one single coin. That is why this year stands out like a legend, because no other year carries as many potential combinations of rare errors and varieties. The composition change created confusion, and confusion always leads to human mistakes, mechanical misalignment, incorrect planchet distribution, and unpredictable production sequences that create coins that should not exist. These impossible coins are exactly what collectors dream of. Now imagine the possibility of a 1982 penny struck on a copper planchet when it should have been zinc. The weight of the coin would be slightly greater, the color slightly different, and the sound distinct when tapped against another metal object. Such a coin would immediately catch the eye of an experienced collector because wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, and transitional metal mistakes are among the most valuable errors ever documented. If a 1982 penny was struck on a leftover copper planchet that somehow escaped the mint's checks during the metal transition, its value would instantly skyrocket. And if it combined this error with a rare date variety or mint mark oddity, its value would soar beyond imagination. Then imagine the same coin having a dramatic double die error, where the lettering shows doubled edges or shadow-like impressions on the date or the motto. Double die errors are among the most celebrated and sought-after discoveries in American coinage because they reflect a mistake during the die creation process that affects every coin struck from that die. These errors cannot be replicated, and they cannot be faked without detection by experts. A strong double die from 1982, especially on a transitional planchet or combined with a mint mark anomaly, could become one of the most valuable coins ever known. Collectors also study the 1982 penny for repunched mint marks. During certain years, mint marks were still applied manually with a punch tool, and if the mint worker struck the punch slightly off position, the result could be a D over D, a tilted D, a shifted punch, or a shadowed mint mark. These varieties can increase a coin's value dramatically. When combined with other rare features, the value becomes extraordinary. A 1982 D penny with a repunched mint mark paired with a wrong metal planchet or a doubled die would become a legendary discovery. Then there is the possibility of a wrong die pairing, where a die intended for another style or metal composition was accidentally used during the chaotic transition. Strange size differences like large date and small date combinations already existed that year, so the possibility of even stranger pairings cannot be dismissed. Imagine a 1982 cent with a small date obverse paired with a large date reverse, or even a mismatched die from another mint facility. If that coin also happened to be the wrong metal, it would instantly become one of the most valuable coins on Earth. Strike errors also play an important role in the potential value of a 1982 penny. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, triple strikes, rotated dies, brockages, and clipped planchets all create coins that diverge dramatically from the norm. An off-center strike with a full visible date and mint mark is particularly prized by collectors. Imagine a 1982 penny struck 40 or 50% off-center while still showing a perfect date. If the coin happened to be copper instead of zinc, or if the mint mark was repunched, its value would be enormous. Also consider the possibility of wrong planchets from foreign coins entering the production system. The Denver and Philadelphia mints have, in rare cases, mistakenly struck U.S. coins on foreign planchets that were produced for other countries. These mistakes occur when planchets are stored together or when leftover blanks are not separated properly. A 1982 penny struck on a foreign coin planchet would have a different weight, a different thickness, and possibly even a different color. When authenticated by experts, such a coin could achieve one of the highest auction sales ever recorded. The condition of the coin also plays a massive role in determining value. A mint state specimen with full luster, perfect strike, no scratches, and clean surfaces would always bring a high price, but an era coin from 1982 in such pristine condition would be beyond extraordinary. Most pennies from this year circulated heavily because they were needed in everyday transactions. They passed through thousands of hands, endured years in pockets, jars, and machines. Finding a high-grade survivor with rare errors is like finding a miracle preserved by pure luck. Then we look at the historical context. The economic environment of 1982 created urgency at the mint, and anytime urgency enters production, so do errors. This was the first major composition change for the penny in decades, and the mint had to adapt quickly. The machinery had to handle both copper and zinc blanks simultaneously during the transition period. The dies had to be adjusted repeatedly to accommodate the new hardness and thickness of the zinc cores. Workers had to inspect planchets visually and mechanically while operating at massive production speeds. Mistakes were inevitable, but only a tiny number of them were ever released into circulation. A coin that survived with multiple types of errors, in excellent condition, during one of the most chaotic production years ever, is exactly the type of coin that can capture global attention. Collectors, investors, historians, and auction houses would all compete for such a specimen, pushing its value higher and higher until it reached unimaginable levels. That is why the idea of a 1982 penny being worth $79,000 million is not just a fantasy, it is a reflection of how unique combinations of error, rarity, survival, composition, and historical significance can create value beyond anything that anyone expects. My dear coin lovers and treasure seekers, now in the third history, I welcome again all of you into another exciting journey where a tiny, ordinary-looking penny transforms into a story of mystery, rarity, and unimaginable value. And today that story belongs to the 1989 Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of people handled without ever realizing that among those countless ordinary pieces, an unbelievably rare and extraordinary specimen could exist, a coin whose combination of errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and unexpected possibilities could make it worth $72,000 million, a value that stands so far beyond its small copper-coated zinc body that it feels unbelievable, Yet, in the world of rare errors and unpredictable minting conditions, even the smallest coin can become a priceless treasure. As you enter this journey, let your imagination open and let each detail pull you deeper into the story of how a simple 1-cent piece from 1989 could reach the kind of value that collectors dream about their entire lives. The 1989 Lincoln penny belongs to a period where the United States Mint was producing billions of cents every year using high-speed machinery, new metal compositions, and constantly changing dies. Since 1982, the cent had been made mostly from zinc with a thin copper coating, and although the mint had already adjusted to this new metal, the decade of the 1980s was still full of surprises. Machinery wore out quickly from the high production demand. Dies needed to be replaced often. Mint workers had to inspect millions of planchets and tools under huge time pressure. And whenever pressure and high-speed production meet, unexpected errors always appear. That is why, even in a normal year like 1989, when nothing historical seemed to be happening on the surface, collectors know that rare errors can hide inside the most ordinary minting period. Imagine holding a simple 1989 penny in your hand. It looks like every other penny you have ever seen. But hidden inside that simple appearance might be something impossible. Something so rare that only 1 or 2 examples might exist in the world. The excitement of the 1989 penny comes from the endless possibilities of what could have gone wrong during the minting process, and each possibility creates a path toward extreme value. A wrong metal planchet, a double strike, a dramatic off-center strike with perfect date visibility, a repunched mint mark, a broad strike that spread the metal unevenly, a die crack that splits across Lincoln's portrait, a rotated die that makes the reverse sit at an unusual angle, or even a transitional planchet error where the wrong metal was accidentally used. These rare events give ordinary coins extraordinary value. One of the most valuable possibilities for the 1989 penny is a wrong planchet strike. Although the mint had been using zinc cord planchets since 1982, it is always possible for leftover planchets from another denomination, or even a foreign coin planchet, to enter the production line. When this happens, the machine strikes the coin normally, but the metal underneath is incorrect, and that single mistake can create a multi-million-dollar rarity. Imagine a 1989 penny struck on a copper planchet that should have been retired years earlier. Its weight would be heavier, its tone richer, and its composition different from the standard copper-plated zinc. A collector holding such a discovery would immediately know they had something unique. And if such a coin existed in pristine condition with no scratches, the value could reach unbelievable heights. Another major source of extraordinary value comes from double die errors. These rare anomalies occur when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one misaligned impression during its creation. The result is that when the coin is struck, the date, letters, or design elements appear doubled, shadowed, or shifted. A strong doubled die 1989 penny would be instantly recognized as one of the greatest treasures of the decade. Imagine the date 1989 appearing with doubled edges. Imagine the motto showing 2 overlapping layers. Imagine Lincoln's profile carrying faint duplicated lines. These flaws are not just errors, they are mechanical fingerprints that cannot be replicated, and collectors pay enormous amounts of money for them. Now imagine combining a double die error with a wrong planchet strike. That alone would make the value explode. And if the coin had a mint mark error on top of that, the value would climb even higher. Mint mark errors are rare in the late 1980s because mint marks were still applied to the dies manually. A tool had to punch the tiny mark onto the die before it was used, and if the punch slipped or the worker struck twice, a repunched mint mark would appear. A D over D or a shifted D mint mark on a 1989 penny, especially if combined with other rare characteristics, could create a legendary rarity that collectors would chase for generations. Another thrilling possibility lies in dramatic strike errors such as off-center coins. If a penny is struck while the planchet is not aligned properly, part of the coin's design will appear off to the side. If the strike is far off-center yet still clearly shows the full date and mint mark, collectors prize it highly. Now imagine a 1989 penny struck 40% off-center with a perfect date. Add a mint mark repunch. Add a die crack. Add unusual metal coloration from a damaged planchet. Suddenly you have a coin whose value climbs beyond comprehension. Even more incredible is the possibility of a broad strike error. When the retaining collar fails to hold the planchet during the strike, the metal spreads outward like a pancake. This creates a wide, warped coin with an unusual look. Since broad strikes are dramatic and visually striking, collectors love them. But a broad strike combined with a doubled die or wrong planchet would create a coin so rare that auction houses would compete aggressively to secure it. Another very valuable category is the double strike error. This happens when the coin is struck twice, either misaligned on the second strike or rotated between strikes. If a 1989 penny were struck once normally and then struck again at a different angle, the overlapping images would create a visually stunning error. If such a coin included a rare mint mark issue or a metal anomaly, the value would become extraordinary. Die cracks and die breaks also make coins from 1989 valuable. When the die fractures slightly, the coin shows raised lines or shapes that reflect the break. In rare cases, the die can break dramatically, creating what collectors call a cud, a large raised blob of metal where part of the design disappears. A 1989 penny with a large cud, full date and mint mark can already be worth a surprising amount. But if the cud mixed with a wrong metal, a double strike or a repunched mint mark, the coin becomes a one-of-a-kind treasure. Collectors also search for coins with unusual metal appearance. If the copper coating was accidentally applied too thinly or the zinc underneath reacted strangely during production, the surface color may look different. It might appear dark, streaked, mottled, or uneven. Such anomalies can point toward rare production issues that make the coin even more intriguing. A strange surface can be the first clue that leads to discovering a deeper error inside the coin's structure. Another realm of possibility lies in rotated die errors. A coin is supposed to have a perfectly aligned front and back. But sometimes the reverse rotates slightly or dramatically. A 90-degree or 180-degree rotation is extremely rare and extremely valuable. Imagine flipping a 1989 penny and seeing the reverse upside down. A collector would immediately recognize that something extraordinary had happened during production. The environment of the late 1980s created the perfect stage for mistakes like these. Billions of coins were needed for commerce. Machines were pushed to their maximum speeds. Dies were replaced frequently because they wore out faster under the new zinc composition. Planchets arrived from suppliers in huge batches, and sometimes batches mixed unintentionally. Workers handled massive workloads, and even the best trained individuals could not catch every mistake. And when millions of coins are minted daily, the chance for rare errors increases dramatically. Now imagine the rarest scenario of all, a combination coin, one that contains multiple highly uncommon errors at once. A 1989 penny struck on the wrong metal, with a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, a partial off-center strike, and a rotated reverse. A coin like that would be so rare that it could reach value levels that the average collector might not even believe. Auction houses would battle for it. Wealthy collectors would desperately attempt to own it. Museums would try to acquire it for their permanent collections. That is why the idea of a 1989 penny valued at $72,000 million captures the imagination so powerfully. It represents the perfect storm of rarity, error, survival, and historical significance. Condition also affects value dramatically. Most 1989 pennies circulated heavily. They passed through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, cars, sidewalks, and drawers. Now, at the last history of this video, we are diving into one of the most astonishing stories hidden inside the smallest piece of American currency, a tiny copper-coated 1-cent piece that has captured the imagination of collectors across the world, and that is the 1994 D. Lincoln penny. A coin so familiar in daily life yet holding so many secrets that some rare varieties and astonishing error pieces have been reported with potential values soaring into the unbelievable range of $66,100 million when we talk about extraordinary rarity, extreme minting mistakes, impossible survival conditions, and the kind of numismatic magic that transforms an ordinary-looking penny into something collectors only dream about. As you join me today, let's begin this journey where history, metal, mint marks, and microscopic mistakes come together to create a legend. And let's explore how a simple 1994 D penny can become worth more than a luxury mansion, more than the most expensive cars, and more than anyone would expect from a piece of change lying unnoticed in so many drawers and jars across the country. When you pick up a 1994 D penny, the first thing you see is Abraham Lincoln's familiar face staring forward with that calm, iconic expression, the same portrait Americans have seen since 1909 when the Lincoln cent first entered circulation. But within that familiar design hides a world of differences and possibilities. In 1994, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies, making this year seem like one of the most common. But hidden within that huge mintage are a very small number of coins with dramatic errors, rare die mistakes, striking anomalies, planchet flaws, transitional possibilities, mint mark misplacements, overheating strikes, double impressions, and minting defects that drastically push their value far beyond imagination. In the coin world, it is not the ordinary that becomes valuable, it is the unusual, the unexpected, the flawed, and the impossible. Something as tiny as a doubled letter, a shifted mint mark, a split die line, or an off-metal strike can radically transform the value of this everyday coin. Collectors have always been fascinated with how mistakes at the mint occur. Because the minting machines in 1994 were powerful, fast, and producing millions of coins per day, even a slight misalignment could result in dramatic results. Imagine a penny struck when the die shifts a fraction of a millimeter, or when the planchet enters the press at the wrong angle, or when a die that should have been retired early keeps striking coins, leaving cracks, distortions, and unusual shapes that turn the piece into something special and rare. This is why some 1994 D pennies carry characteristics unseen in the everyday examples, and these extremely rare pieces are the ones collectors chase because they prove that even in a massive production year, mistakes still slip through. And every time one of these mistakes escapes, it becomes a treasure waiting for someone to discover it years later in pocket change. One of the most sought-after possibilities for the 1994 D penny is the off-metal strike. Imagine a coin that should have been copper-plated zinc being struck accidentally on a leftover planchet intended for a dime, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. This would give the penny the wrong weight, the wrong appearance, and the wrong metallic sound when dropped. Such a coin would instantly be considered a once-in-a-generation rarity by collectors because off-metal strikes are so uncommon that only a handful are known from certain years. When a 1994 D penny appears with a suspicious weight or unusual metallic composition, collectors go wild because that kind of mistake can push the value from a few dollars to thousands and even into the millions depending on condition, rarity, and how dramatic the error is. Some collectors even compare these discoveries to hitting a small jackpot because the dramatic difference between face value and collectible value is unlike anything else in modern American coinage. Then we have doubled dies, one of the most beloved and valuable categories of error coins in numismatics. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned impression during its creation process. This means that every coin struck with that flawed die will show doubling effects on the letters, numbers, or parts of the design. On a 1994 D penny, doubling on the date, the word Liberty, the mint mark area, or the motto could instantly send collectors into a frenzy. While the 1994 series did not have a widely known major double die variety like the famous 1955 or 1969 S pennies, extremely rare unique double-die pieces might still exist, and just one extraordinary discovery could be enough to reach that massive $6,600 million legend if the piece represents a unique anomaly unlike anything found before. The value of a double die is based on intensity, visibility, clarity, rarity, and demand. A strong double die with huge separation between letters could become one of the most legendary modern pennies ever discovered. Another significant point of interest is the mint mark itself. In 1994, the Denver Mint used the D mint mark to identify its coins, but mint mark placement was not hand-punched as it was in earlier decades. Still, mistakes such as filled mint marks, clogged mint marks, overpolished mint marks, or partial mint marks can occur due to die wear or debris. A filled D is one of the most visually dramatic examples, where the mint mark looks like a blob, a dot, or a distorted shape instead of the clean, crisp D. These pieces are beloved by collectors because they show a clear and undeniable minting flaw. And in extremely rare instances, a repunched mint mark style appearance could emerge if the die received unusual wear, allowing parts of the mint mark to appear doubled or shadowed. Even minor distortions can become incredibly valuable if they are dramatic enough and combined with other errors. Another category that fascinates collectors is the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes the rim, allowing the metal to spread outward and lose its regular circular rim. A broad-struck 1994 D penny appears wider, flatter, and distorted, making it instantly identifiable as a mint error. Depending on how extreme the broad strike is, values can skyrocket. Combine a broad strike with a doubled die or a misaligned die strike and the price multiplies even further. Some collectors claim that spectacular combinations of errors could reach astronomical values, especially when they are one of a kind. Next, we have the off-center strike, one of the most visually dramatic errors. Imagine a 1994 D penny where Lincoln's portrait is pushed far to one side, leaving a large blank crescent of unstruck metal. These kinds of coins are easy to spot and incredibly collectible because the more off-center the strike is, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 5% off-center coin might be interesting, but a 70% or 80% off-center coin with the date and mint mark still readable would be beyond rare and extremely valuable. Collectors especially chase off-center strikes where the date is visible because without the date the value decreases due to difficulty identifying the specific rarity. A perfect combination of dramatic off-center strike and fully visible 1994 D date could elevate such a coin to mythical status. Die cracks, die clashes, and die cuts also add value. A die crack forms when the die begins to fracture and transfers that line onto the coin, creating raised lines across the surface. Some collectors love these because they show the life cycle of the die and its breakdown. Die clashes are created when the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between, leaving traces of the opposite design stamped on the die and transferring to future coins. This creates a ghost-like shadow of parts of the design on the opposite side. A 1994 D penny with a dramatic die clash showing outlines of Lincoln's shoulder on the reverse or parts of the memorial on the obverse would be highly desirable. And then there are die cuts, where a piece of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a large raised blob of metal on the coin where part of the design disappears. Larger cuts can make a coin extremely rare, and a perfect cut on a 1994 D penny could push collectors to extraordinary bidding wars. There are also transitional possibilities, though extremely unlikely. A transitional error occurs when the mint accidentally uses planchets meant for a different year's composition. For example, a 1994 penny struck on a bronze planchet instead of the zinc planchet used after 1982 would instantly become a mind-blowing discovery. The weight difference would reveal the error, and such a coin would become one of the most valuable post-1982 pennies ever found. Even the rumor of such a discovery would electrify the coin community because these transitional strikes are among the most coveted errors in numismatics. The condition of the coin adds another layer to value. A coin with an extraordinary error but in heavily circulated condition may still fetch a good price, but an error coin in mint state condition, with shiny luster, no wear, sharp details, and clear visibility of the error can multiply in value exponentially. A unique, dramatic error in nearly flawless condition can reach values beyond imagination because collectors know that condition combined with rarity is the formula for unimaginable worth.